In a SmackDown, the effect of which species would win?
Well, I love American beech trees. They're beautiful. They always remind me of the enchanted trees in the forest. They're critically important for wildlife species. They produce beech nuts every couple of years, which a lot of animals use. A lot of little animals nest in the cavities in beech trees. And it's the biggest, oldest beech trees that are most vulnerable to beech bark disease. Ever since it was introduced into Nova Scotia, beech scale and the pathogen that it's associated with have been moving to the west and moving to the south. And once trees are infested with beech scale, it's a matter of time before they get the pathogen that causes the disease, which ultimately kills the trees. But when you compare beech bark disease and emerald ash borer totally wins the SmackDown. It's gone so fast, it's still spreading. We don't have good ways of finding it. We don't have very good options for trying to control it, particularly in forests. We can save landscape trees, but the forests are being devastated. We didn't discover ash borer until 2002. We already know there's populations in at least 14 states and 2 provinces in Canada. It has now become the most destructive forest insect to ever invade North America. And we can say that based on the fact that not just a few trees have been killed or dozens of trees, actually tens of millions of ash trees have been killed. There's at least 16 species of ash native to the U.S., maybe 18 depending on how you count them up. It's likely that all of those ash species are vulnerable to emerald ash borer, and we could be looking at the demise of not just a single species, but potentially a genus of trees that's very important in a number of different ecosystems across the country. The impacts of emerald ash borer cut across sectors. There's major economic effects. We recently finished a project where we projected the spread of emerald ash borer for the next 10 years. And if you look at the costs of either replacing landscape trees that'll be killed by ash borer or protecting those trees with an insecticide, just over the next 10 years, the costs are going to be $10 to $20 billion. And that's strictly landscape trees. The ecological impacts of emerald ash borer in the forest are not even known yet. And there's certain ecosystems where ash is a dominant species, plays a very major role in terms of nutrient cycling. You have swamps, for example, with black ash. There's no economic value associated with that tree. Nobody makes lumber out of black ash or even green ash for that matter. But the ecological impacts of having all those trees die in a relatively short span of time, we expect those impacts to cascade through the ecosystem. It's going to affect animals. You know, if the only tree in the area is a black ash and it's dead, it's going to fall over, then the birds don't have a place to perch. There's other insects and other animals that rely on ash. You don't have the big influx of leaves in the fall. We don't know what that means in the long term. These trees, you know, they're growing maybe 6 feet apart, and you see that one has just been completely colonized. Literally all the inner bark, the phloem, which is what the larvae want to feed in, they've eaten every square morsel of it. Over here, you can see this one's clean. Virtually no larvae on it. So, you know, we're learning about their behavior, and eventually, hopefully, it'll translate into some management recommendations and options that we can give to people.